uThermal versus Stephano. Game 1 of the best of 5. We start on Stasis, which is one of the maps which comes in from the Challenge 1 category, because it is closer by air than it is by ground, which is the definition of the Challenge number 1 that was set in the Team Liquid map contest for the map makers. To the top left-hand side, our red Zerg player from Gamers Origin. This, my friends, Stephano. And to the top right-hand side, our blue Terran player from Team Liquid is uThermal. This is an air blocker up on the top side, so main to main isn't actually super easy to get to by air, but natural to natural is rather easy. It's interesting because they're so close to each other, but because the only realistic way you can come in with air units is from this direction, it should be relatively easy to set up defenses to minimize the effectiveness of that. Wardy, any map-specific cool plays so far? Asks Luke Bogman in reference to that prize pool that's set aside for that. I mean, we've had a couple of cool ones. For example, we had on Extraction a Proxy Tempest play against Zerg. That was done by Ard. I think that was really cool and really played to the map. TLO played Swarm Host on that map, which had a similar idea. There's been a couple of claims. A Laser claimed yesterday that he baited 4 medevacs into neutral missile turrets. I'm not sure if that's true, although Sol and Clem have definitely done a very good job showing us the ways the neutral missile turrets work, so they might be in the running as well, just for the straight up meme factor. Even if it wasn't a great play, it definitely helped to showcase the map. So, you know, a couple of interesting ways to look at it. We'll be collecting more as the days go by. I mean, Puck had a cool play as well. I used Oracles on a close by air map also. Pretty good stuff, as we'll be seeing the hatch gas pool opening from Stephano taking place against the Reaper expand from uThermal. Now, Stephano plays a very different style of ZVT a lot of the time to what most Zerg players usually will go for. Usually, Zerg players will open into Lingbane Hydra, then move in towards Hive Tech. Sometimes they go Ultra, sometimes they bypass them to go straight towards Broodlord, depending on how the game is going. Stephano plays a very different style. He likes to play purely Lingbane into Ultras, and he has a lot of counterattacks always set up and ready to go with just an insane amount of Lingbane available. Really makes those very scary. Extractor there as the drone gets blasted in that direction. Reaper trying to pick up some initial damage as he will loop around and, again, trying to pick up some kills. Getting these drones low and just forcing spores. Indirect damage because it stops mining for a while and a little bit of lost money on the cancels. Now, this map is a little bit interesting. I'm just following the Reaper for the moment, but I do want to show you one of the features of this map, which I think is very cool. As you see this Reaper coming around the top side, and we'll be dropping the Reaper grenade and just continue to blast a couple of units around the place here. This map by New Sunshine, by the way, another map maker who I'm familiar with from previous map contests. And, yeah, I get to see his map in the finalists as well. Man, this Reaper's just sticking around for so long. Stephano's having some real trouble dealing with this here. The Reaper just looping around all over the place, buying time to heal up a little bit before he loops back around, dodges past the Queen without taking a hit. The Lings try and dive in, but they don't quite catch it. This Reaper, he is just slipping and sliding through all the Zerg defenses. He now leaves full of health. Wow. Well, the one thing I want to show you guys is we haven't actually seen this just yet. Basically, this pathway, we've not really seen it used at all, but if you break through these rocks, it sets up an attack pathway which can lead natural to natural, which obviously would be pretty interesting to see being used later in the game. I really feel that's something which is underused so far by the players. I mean, it is difficult to get to because it's 8,000 damage against armored units, aka rocks, which, you know, which opens this pathway up, but later in the game, I definitely think it's something we could see. Well, a few Hellions just jumping in towards this medevac here, and we do see them starting to move out onto the map. A little bit of aggression coming out here in these early stages from uThermal. So the Hellion job to start things off. Now, uThermal's been playing a little bit of mech lately, and the barracks not taking position on that tech lab would say to me already that maybe he plans to play a bit more mech here today as well. This medevac all the way to the left-hand side now. Stephano does have that third base in position. The interesting thing is, with these naturals pointing so far towards each other, the third bases are actually very far set apart from each other, which means the fourth base comes down pretty far off as well. And I think in general, Terran players will struggle to push on this map in towards bases of their opponent, in which case I think mech play would be a lot stronger than bio play, just because it's going to be very difficult to get those pushes going in. The Queen's did a lot of damage to that first medevac, and the Lings come in for a full surround of these Hellions. Stephano with a very good defense at the start of this here, as we see 4 more Hellions just arriving into the natural. And, well, some Zerglings going to keep on being roasted as we have those Hellions just moving around, getting a few more kills. They will get rid of those Zerglings. So the Zerglings will fall, and a couple of Hellions again trying to see what's up. Spore Crawler coming in and attacking that Liberator, which has snuck its way in towards the main base. Well, I have to say, though, very impressively, Stephano yet to really lose any workers. One drone going down as this Liberator will not be able to do too much either. Might be able to hide away in the top corner of the map until later, as uThermal is going to ask for a quick pause. Hopefully nothing too impactful. And as we get this hopefully sorted out nice and quickly, and can resume ourselves into the game. I have too high graphics for this map. That is something that generally gets tweaked a little bit later on before these maps make it to ladder. If they make it to ladder, again, there's no guarantee that they will, but it is a possibility. Go asks uThermal, and we will count down into the resume. Back we go. Liberator will just siege up in the corner, but the Queens are here, and they will get rid of that without an issue. So unsuccessful early game in terms of damage dealt by uThermal, but he still has a third CC up, and playing into mech. Well, is that early damage a massive issue? I wouldn't necessarily say so. Command Center will lift up and move towards the third base now. Fueling's moving forwards. A few Marines will actually help to defend the siege tanks early on here, which is quite nice because, you know, a lot of the time players delay siege tank production, but uThermal's been going for this build where he gets siege tanks nice and quickly. It means he gives up Hellions though, which means he could just die to like a big flood of Lings, but he makes up for that by getting the Marines, and this combination of tanks and Marines is actually generally very good to defend. So it's been working pretty well, this build for uThermal the last few days. He actually played back in Group B, so it was a couple days back since we saw him playing, but he actually had a pretty good set of matches, I would say, as this Liberator will siege up over here. That's an annoying position. Queen should be able to reach it, but still going to be losing a drone, this first Queen. Maybe it would have gone down. I guess the other Queens would have been there to transfuse, though. As we'll see that Liberator continuing to back away. uThermal going to save this one for another day. +1/+1 vehicle weapons coming up now. This map, one of the things I think is going to be very good on it is if you make your way through these rocks, is moving, is going over here and using swarm hosts to attack from this position here, where the swarm host can maybe be safe behind this rock, and then just flying over towards the front of the third base or into the natural. So I think that would be pretty great. The question is, does Stephano know about the fact that this is mech? I'm not sure if he does, because what he saw so far was a couple of tanks and Marines. He didn't see more Hellions. He hasn't seen the usual signs of continued mech play. And that's something which you got to look at here and be like, well, does Stephano know what's up? Because right now, he's playing how he plays against Bio, Lings, Banes. Infestation pick comes down now, so you might think, okay, well, maybe he's thinking about Swarm Host. But I would actually argue that Stephano is actually maybe thinking about going in towards Hive Tech already to go into those very fast Ultras, which is very kind of typical of his playstyle. So that's something to really keep in mind here. Stephano, as he goes into the Hydra Den, okay, so Lingbane Hydra. I mean, Lingbane Hydra can play against mech. Maybe he does have a bit of a better idea than what's suggested at the moment, as we'll be seeing those Hellions coming forwards just slightly. Liberator sieging up on this watchtower, which is actually going to be not taken by anything right now if the Liberator is sitting over it. The creep spread is starting to look good, pushing forwards, but with mech, cleaning out the creep is not as much of an issue as usual. With Bio, you're looking for more regular, consistent attacks, and because of that, you need to clean up the creep. With mech, it's not quite the same. You attack much less regularly. Your big pushes will probably clean the creep as they go, and you push a lot more slowly, so cleaning up creep as you go for the push makes a lot more sense than usual. 2-2 melee upgrade starting up here. I'm actually getting a little bit of low FPS on this map as well, guys. Again, these maps are not perfectly optimized to actually be played on, so I think the combination of TvZ creep and the map may just see a couple of stutters or frame drops here or there, guys. If that is the case, I do apologize, of course. These are experimental maps, or new maps, and again, graphically, before they hit the ladder, if they hit the ladder, they probably would be edited slightly to help along situations like that or issues like this. Now you see 2-2 upgrades coming in on the armory, so vehicle plating and vehicle weapons currently on the way up as the command center moves on down towards the fourth base. Again, some of these tanks sieging here as the four stood nearby as well. A couple of Liberators sat out to the side of this command center too. uThermal likes to add in a lot of Liberators into the later stages of his game. As Blue Flame finishes up, you'll have a better answer to the Ling, Bane, and Hydra. All of these units, at least the Lings and the Hydras, are light, so the Blue Flame does extra damage to them. Doesn't do extra damage to the Banelings, but I mean, all you have to do is roast a few extra Lings to open up the path to the Banelings. or just the path to the Hydras. I mean, Hydras alone actually get demolished by these Blue Flame Hellions a lot of the time. It's kind of unfair how well they can trade for being mineral-only units. But I mean, again, it is their strength, and right now, Stephano is playing into the strength of those Hellions. Blue Flame just getting rid of a couple of creep tumors. So again, while uThermal isn't necessarily important for him to get rid of the creep all game long, it is nice for him to get rid of it when he can. And he's keeping it just around the middle of the map. Takes the watchtower here, uThermal, and we'll see this army moving forwards, and he'll go in for a quick little attack. Doesn't want to get surrounded here, though. The Banes actually do find a connection. Still a lot of Lings that go down, though. Still definitely an efficient trade from uThermal's point of view. He's now pushing with Liberators to help zone. You know what? The anti-air right here, 11 Hydras, 7 Queens. I don't know if that's enough to take down this many Liberators. Stephano is on Hive Tech, but we're yet to see any Hive-based units, no Vipers or anything so far. Tanks pushing forwards with this as well. Hellbat's morph in, and here we go. uThermal going to try and split against the Banes. Banes from the right-hand side as well. The Hydras have gone down to the Liberators, though, so the Liberators will win out in the sky already. A couple more Banes continue to come through here and continue to be picked apart. The Liberators will have to unsiege and back away. This 1-4 is actually going to be protected by a mass siege up of Libs, but a couple of Queens that are behind this will get a Liberator kill. Now the Liberators will siege up on top of the Queens and behind them, try and stop them from running away. Another Liberator falls. uThermal is almost pushing as though he's a bio player, just rallying forwards here with new units. I feel like he's missing Hellions, though, which is a bit of an issue, although I guess at the same time, the Liberators, the zoning which they're doing so far is actually pretty great. We do see this one Spoiler Crawler getting set up, but it will go down. It should go down. Actually, the units running in is going to buy a little bit of time here, and it will pick off a Liberator. Now it gets killed off. uThermal still has the units left over to keep on pressing forwards. Liberators stopping units coming down from the main base. Now they reposition just as a couple extra Hydras show up. Maybe it would have been better to stick around there just a little longer. uThermal looks as though he will be pushed back. This tank might just be saved by the Hellions showing up. The last Liberator taken down here, but uThermal comes out ahead in supply, which as a mech player is generally a very good position to be in. Now Stephano's going to be setting up for a bit of a counterattack here. Let's watch his first-person view as we see him moving this army around and thinking about what his next stage is. Looks as though he won't attack with a couple of Vipers currently being set up. A couple of Vipers coming into play right now will allow him to go in towards some Blinding Clouds and really allow him some extra potency against this meching army. It also gives him Abducts to bring some tanks into the army, shut them down quickly. Same with Liberators, will unsiege them as you get those Abducts in. Planetary Fortress sets up in the bottom right-hand side of the map. Our longest game of the day so far already in game number 1 of this uThermal Stephano matchup. So you're going to see those Hellions picking off a couple of creep tumors. Again, those Vipers continue to come through. 5 more Spine Crawlers added on. Stephano will commit into the static defense here, but you're starting to see the effect that that previous push had on Stephano's army. 75 army supply to the 99. uThermal about to tick over 100 here as he presses forwards. A Queen goes low, doesn't fall. Stephano will try and take the bottom central base. This is a base which could determine the split map sort of warfare. If both players mine out their own side of the map, then the middle of the map could be the determining factor if they are trading evenly. But of course, I don't think that's going to happen because uThermal's pressing forwards again, and I'm not sure what you're meant to do right now as Stephano to fight this. Tanks are set up from such a huge distance away. Blind Clouds will come down, though, and that Blind Cloud will be pretty huge, but the Blind Cloud actually doesn't drop. There isn't the energy on the Vipers to do so. A big mistake here by Stephano, who doesn't have the energy which he needs to actually properly fight this. These Hellions will pull away and actually just get a little bit close towards the tanks to get some backups. uThermal, though, takes this opportunity to spread his siege tanks out and to force more Blind Clouds to be used. Stephano was just a little bit too eager to jump on in there. And again, without the Blinding Clouds, it was a very difficult situation. As drones try and transfer down to the bottom side of the map, they get killed off. And now these tanks and Liberators are just holding these positions. And while as the Abducts come in, they're nice and all, but I mean, uThermal is already cleaned up an entire mineral line over to the left side. There's only really going to be Hydras left. There's still tank support as the Hellions do their job, pushing in with the blue flame, and Stephano really doesn't have enough to keep on fighting. The Hydras have gone. GG is called. uThermal finds game number 1 going in his favor. My hotkey. As well, here are the intros. Now's your time to cheer on your players. Wow, my FPS has like tripled since we went in game. Oh, since I restarted. That's pretty nice. Okay then, let's do this to the upper left-hand side, down a map. Give him your energy right now if you're cheering on the blue Zerg. This is Stephano from Gamers Origin. And at the bottom right-hand side, the red Team Liquid player. 1 game up. Can he keep it up? Red Terran, uThermal. Wardy, me gusta your commentary. Well, thank you so much, JNSTPT. Me gusta your viewing. Appreciate you guys being here today and joining us for the Team Liquid Map Contest Tournament Day 5. 4 days of groups have passed and our 5th day of action here today, bringing us some great games so far. We still have, I mean, after this series, we're only halfway through the day. We actually have uThermal or Stephano versus True still to come, as well as Harassment versus Mana PvP, followed by the winner versus Lambo. So many great games to come in tomorrow. We have 2 best of 5s, 2 best of 7s, and a best of 9. Crazy. Absolutely crazy. Tomorrow we wrap up the tournament. 2 more quarterfinals, 2 semi-finals, and the grand final is what will make up tomorrow's content, as we'll be live once again a little bit earlier tomorrow because of the GSL versus the World ending a little bit sooner, most likely. Wardy, do you remember that game in BlizzCon last year when Bjorn traded 7 Reapers for like 80 Zerglings? I mean, who doesn't? Reaper Bjorn against Dark. Reapers were just insane then. I don't know what game it was, but it was probably Bjorn against Dark or Bjorn. I mean, there wasn't that many games in BlizzCon. I'm pretty sure you can find it without too much difficulty. I think in general, though, Bjorn used Reapers so much. I just remember him using it against Dark, and they were just insane. Anyways, it is game number 2 here, guys. uThermal and Stephano are kicking it off on Cyber Forest. Now, Cyber Forest is a map which comes in from the standard section of the maps. So it's actually one of our first standard maps of the day. We saw Crystal Cavern as well earlier. And actually we saw Year Zero too. So it's actually we've seen a few of the standard maps. But this is a map by PK Lixian, and he said he likes to make his maps simple and flow well. And honestly, with the games that we've seen on this map so far, I'd say he's definitely achieved that with Cyber Forest, as we have this Reaper hopping up into the main base and starting to deal a little bit more damage to a drone here. Another drone taking some shots, as we do see this Reaper backing away. Aractus in the chat is cheering on Stephano. Look what cheering on Stephano too. Koi Fish with some Pikachus for uThermal. Boyfe is cheering with some Stephano emotes. Anders with the woo in the chat again. And Balfour wants to have Stephano's babies. I'm not sure if you'll agree to that one. Karaji cheering on Stephano also. Bit of a split in the chat. You guys are a little bit 50-50 between Stephano and uThermal at the moment. Woohoo, Team Liquid says Shadow Eater with the 2 bits. Thank you very much. Every 2 bits count. They all add up. They go a long way. Thank you very much to the 2 bits. Appreciate it. I'm just going to be seeing the SCVs continue to pop out of this natural command center here. And we will be seeing this Overlord just sat overhead for Stephano. Just going to be able to sit overhead and just obviously start a poke forwards to try and figure out what is going on. It's again looking to be a similar build. 4 Hellions into a medevac here initially. Barracks moves away from a tech lab. So it looks very similar in the early stages. This Overlord looks as though it will go down, as the Overlord is being targeted. Will Wardy talk about his favourite maps at the end of the tournament? Yes, I will. I actually made a Team Liquid post last year about which maps I thought were my favourite. I did a full ranking with reasons behind why I thought they were awesome and why I enjoyed watching them and stuff. So Cyber Forest is up there right now. Probably one of my top 5. I'm a little bit all over the place in terms of my top 5. But I think Cyber Forest is definitely one of my top 5 right now. Just going to be seeing this Zergling coming over and is just going to be trying to go after an SCV for a moment at least. This Hellions loading up here, and obviously at the same time there's more Hellions in the Liberator on the way, so that continued harassment from uThermal to potentially come through in the near future. And this time the Hellions get into the main base a lot more successfully than the last game, where the Queens already had the medevacs targeted down low, so the medevac went down almost instantly. 2 drones so far. Hellions will get behind this mineral line. Stephano responds well by pulling his drones around the right-hand side. 1 Hellion falls. The medevac boosts back through the top, wants to get out of there rather than being cornered in the upper left-hand side. More Hellions coming across the map and are going to be arriving in the center. In the next couple of moments, we do see some Queens. They'll start dealing some damage, and a nice catch, actually, does a very good job of this. At the same time, though, these Hellions are back into the main base. Medevac's still here, only 2 of them remain. Looks as though he wants to die for that last drone, doesn't quite find it. Liberator on the 3rd, though, finding even more damage. Now, last game, Stephano deflected all of this without taking any damage. This game, he's pulling drones left, right, and center. uThermal is finding a lot of damage in these early stages. Good stuff by uThermal. Already off to a better start, and once again, the double armory coming down, the extra gas is being taken in the natural. It looks as though uThermal is going to continue into more mech play as we work our way through this. And he's going to arrive on the other side though, and a couple of Marines behind the wall-off will be enough to deflect for the moment. His Marine production has not been as high as before, perhaps because he feels as though he can defend more easily on this map or doesn't need as many Marines. Interesting. He actually built another tech lab for the barracks. I wonder if he does still add on a few more though, because it kind of feels like right now his Marines or his tanks are going to be very exposed as he moves towards the third base. Baneling Nest starts in the back of the Naturalist. Stephano is playing missile upgrades this game, but still with the Baneling Nest. So this time probably looking towards, okay, maybe Roach Bane. Roach Roran comes down here too. I mean, the missile upgrade is already a difference, which suggests Stephano will know this time around that he's going to be playing against a mech style rather than maybe preparing to play against bio. So that's a big improvement from the get-go. But the Roach Roran with this is very interesting. I'm just trying to figure out what he goes for. Like, Roach Bane? Is it just... I mean, it must be, because he is making a lot of lings. Hydralisk Den probably comes down with the lair, right? Roach Speed and Hydralisk Den, and then just a few Banes mixed in along the way. Very interesting. We do see these Hellbats heading over to the left-hand side. A couple of Zerglings heading down towards the bottom right too. Already see one Siege Tank just getting a kill. Again, this medevac with 2 Hellbats inside coming all the way over to the left. 8 Roaches started build to Stephano, 63 drones. I just wonder how much of this... Okay, he is making more drones. I was just wondering if he wanted to make a stack of units and try and attack in the near future with the Roaches. Maybe that's why he was playing Roaches, but it just looks as though it'll be Roach Ravager Bane. You see this Hellbat drop. Yeah, a little bit of damage on the other side of the map. Small run by, picked off a couple of SCVs. This medevac does fall, so 4 drones. Not bad, because again, it's all of these drones are not mining during this time. If you take a look at the income graph, you can see uThermal is taking huge spikes of advantage every time this harassment goes off. Earlier game when there was less drones on the map and that harassment came in, he still took spikes, which were a lot larger for back then. Right now, this spike was huge actually, denying a lot of mining for a good amount of time. Libera is on the way up once more. So uThermal play this, again, this same style of mech, which is different to the usual mech styles that we see. We don't usually see styles of mech like this, where the Liberators are such a prominent way of playing in the earlier stages. You're going to have Stephano's first-person view here on the picture-in-picture for you guys on the bottom right of the screen if you'd like to have a look to see how he's dealing with these Hellions poking forwards and how he's dealing with the setup of this attack. Roach is trying to poke their way through some rocks. Stephano has to look at multiple places at the same time right now because he's got Queens around the right side, Lings through the center, Roach is trying to break through rocks over here. Some of the Roaches push back though, Liberators will unsiege and they'll actually just siege a bit further forwards. No real anti-air just yet. Let's switch it to uThermal's point of view at the moment, see what he's looking at as he gets ready to defend. Looks as though no attack just yet, but Stephano is on 64 drones now, and he is morphing a lot of Banes. It looks as though he is going for one big bust here. They're going to try and win out on this in the next few moments. Again, he's setting on up. uThermal's just been setting his 4th base up in the next few, over the last few moments here. And the Liberators are kind of an issue because these Queens are the only anti-air that Stephano has. uThermal's spreading himself out a little bit. He's feeling pretty nice, not ready yet, as we will see these tanks well positioned to stop these units coming down this ramp. Honestly, I'm not sure if Stephano can make this work. He comes around the right-hand side as well as uThermal gets ready to defend. The Banes rolling towards the mineral line. So many of those Banes just disappeared, though. There's so many tanks left to deal with these leftover Roaches. And that is very simply a defense from uThermal. He already looks over to his 4th base, which he starts to mule morph into a planetary. A great defense from uThermal, and Stephano's aggressive attack has not worked out for him at all. Infestation pit starting up from Stephano in the upper left-hand side. A few more Banes coming up. +2 missile attack upgrade from Stephano also getting set up here as these Zerglings continue down to the south side of the map. Siege tanks are well positioned and they do grab a good few kills so far. Fueling has been picked off. Hydralisk Den is on its way up, about halfway done. Again, +2 missile attack coming through. Infestation pit about to conclude. +2 vehicle weapons, +2 vehicle plating from uThermal still coming into play. Again, Stephano set himself very far behind here by committing to that previous attack, an attack which did not find the damage it needed to in this situation. A lot of Hellions over to the right-hand side, as you do see to the left, while Roach's Hellions obviously go only one way. Those Hellions losing out there, unfortunately. More Hellions down to the south. uThermal scans ahead of time. The one thing Stephano does have is a heck of a lot of creep spread, but we talked about this on Stasis, our map number 1, where it doesn't matter if you push the creep spread back slowly as you push forward with the mech army, because mech armies are designed to push slowly. As Hydras and Banes get set up right now, the Hive is a long way off, so Stephano's going to have to take this upcoming fight without Vipers, without Hive Tech to aid him. And that's again just repercussions from committing to a fight earlier in this game that put him on very low tech for a very long amount of time. Again, I talked about the fact it was interesting to go both with Banelin Nest and Roaches. And he did set up and end up being a very aggressive attack, as you see. Whoop. Attempts to find some drones there. Finds 7. Not bad still. uThermal presses forwards, and this left-hand side base looks as though it's already going to be falling. Liberator setting up on the right-hand side, protecting this flank from Stephano. He might have been looking to come in here and catch these units on the backside, where the Hellbats are not in front to protect the siege tanks. As Broodlings pop out, well, here he goes. Stephano is setting up on the right. He might just look for a straight-up counter-attack. He might have a little bit of a base trade here. So as uThermal continues to push forwards, and this mech army gets set up, well, we have Stephano. No, he's actually just going to loop around the other side. You can see uThermal already being attacked from the top side. We're going to put that on the picture-in-picture as this bottom side attack comes on in, and he is going to have to pull back with a couple of Hellbats, but the tanks are doing a good job. The Liberators run out on the top. If you're watching the picture-in-picture, you would have seen that. And uThermal takes the 2-0 to go on to be as organized as well as possible to help the players out so they're not sitting around forever waiting for matches and so on. You know, again, just makes a little bit more sense as we get this ready to go. Alright guys, well we start to the upper left hand side of the map. Our Red Terran player is uThermal from Team Liquid, and he is the player that leads the series 2-0. To the top right hand side, our Blue Zerg from Gamers Origin, Stephano. He's going to have to try and find something to change up the way that this game is going, because this series is definitely not going in his favor at the moment. Thank you very much, Murky Wonders, for the 12-month, 12-year resub. Thank you so much for the 1 year support, dude. Appreciate it. Can we get some love in the chat for Murky Wonders? Thank you so much for the 1 year of subscribing. Do appreciate it. Meet the neutral missile turrets. These turrets will attack both Stephano's and uThermal's air-based units. So you cannot fly through this top side of the map until you kill these missile turrets off. Additionally, there's some missile turrets over here which help protect this base until they get killed off as well. So keep that in mind. That's a feature of the map. The players are aware of it, and we are going to be seeing this overlord heading through the center to come across to the left-hand side and to obviously avoid these missile turrets while getting into position to scout. A Reaper on the way up here from uThermal to start things off. Again, this is the first turret map we've seen today. There is 3 of them in the overall map pool for this contest. I would say this is one of the... I think this is probably my favorite of the 3. I think it's very... The turrets are very... The turrets seem very minimal compared to the other maps, and they don't seem to have as big of an impact in terms of killing units accidentally, in terms of things accidentally wandering in, and all the rest of it. Now you do see this Reaper starting to head across to the right-hand side. It is just going to go through the center as well. Doesn't want to come up here because if you attack move up here, you can sometimes hit the turrets and get delayed. So uThermal just comes through the center instead, and again that Overlord about to arrive, but has to get to some high ground soon because this barracks is about to finish up the Marine. Well, we've been watching this Reaper kind of dance around all 2 games so far, so why not a 3rd game in a row? It's obviously usually the most exciting thing going on at the moment. And Reaper just firing away, and a little bit of damage here and there. Just getting those lings a little bit low, and again, Reaper Grenade going down, but not quite connecting just yet as he backs away to the left. Command Center finishing up on the natural expansion very shortly too. So that Command Center finishing, and we will see the Orbital Command is starting up. In the main base, we see the Starport starting to build as well as uThermal goes into the Hellions, and we're yet to see if he'll play a mech again. One of the interesting features about Crystalline Addiction is that this gold base here is kind of protected by this entire pathway at the top. This pathway is difficult to send a lot of units through because it is very choked up. You can't walk over these squares, so you kind of zigzag through them like such as Neon Violet Square had those squares as well. These are a little bit wider, but you still have to zigzag through them, so it's difficult for larger armies to push across here, but it isn't difficult for large armies to maybe come in and take these rocks down. So there's still some pushing power if you take a gold. It's just one of the pathways is a bit more protected than usual. So the gold's actually not too ridiculous to take, I would say. Just going to be seeing the Reaper moving around at the frontier and the Queen getting a shot or 2 off. Just a little bit of poking damages. Again, uThermal setting up in a very standard way compared to how he set up before. It's the exact same. So no changes just yet As we'll see this SCV going to come down to the low ground. Bottom right hand side, Reaper just checking out what's going on as well. And finally going to see the Zerglings getting a surround for the Reaper to fall. Hellions moving forwards though, and are they going to be able to hit the mineral line? Well, uThermal seems to think so. He never made a medevac this time, so his Hellions able to dive in a little bit more easily. So it is a bit different to previously. With the Liberator straight away rather than the medevac, he gets just free kills. I guess a medevac could still come up this side and dropped in here and come across. Okay, well, 4 Hellions for free drones isn't great, but if you're going to continue building Hellions, then it's a lot better. If you play Bio and you only make 4 to 6 Hellions, then that's actually a really bad trade, because it's not a ton of damage, and you lose a lot of your map control. In this scenario where uThermal doesn't keep making Hellions, but he's playing mech, the map control is a lot less important, so actually, it will work out for him. It'll be okay. As we'll see this Liberator again coming around here. This is seen by Stephano. He'll know it's coming up, but you'll still have to get in position. Liberator looks as though it will just siege. I feel like this map is very abusable. Like, what's to stop Liberator range just sieging up over here? I feel like that's kind of crazy. One queen will go down, and I like that uThermal. He knows he can kill the queen, so he kills it, then he target fires the drone, because he knows he's not going to kill a second queen, so instead he gets that extra drone kill with that final shot, rather than just a bit of useless damage onto a queen. Nicely done. Well done. Liberator working its way through this high ground overlord, and we'll just be cleaning that out. Stephano not going to be able to keep this alive. And I think, unsurprisingly here, uThermal will take the gold based on the third. And again, we didn't really talk about the third position for Stephano, but I really truly believe the pushing power through these rocks just kind of shies him away from the gold base as an option for where he expands. Also means he can just take the 4th base down to the bottom right-hand side, and by taking the 4th base down here, he's set up across a very kind of linear expansion pattern, which is very powerful for the Zerg in general in terms of being able to defend. What's up, Anders, with the $5 donation? Says a cheeky dono to get your biggest awoo! There's some big meme going on right now, guys, where E-Wolves is like a new... I don't even think it's a team. It's not more like a clan where people are, you know, like... I don't know, but uThermal is part of E-Wolves, and they go woo on Twitter and on streams a lot when they support their players. So there you go. There's my biggest woo, at least for the moment. I don't believe you made me do this in front of 4,000 people, Anders. Thank you so much for the $5 donation, though. Do appreciate it. As the Rotron from Stephano coming in behind this mineral line, we see 1-1 vehicle upgrade still coming through from uThermal as well. And the melee upgrade is going to be completing very shortly also. So melee about to finish up. You see the roach speed starting up on the Rotron, the infestation pit coming down also. These Zerglings have broken through these rocks, and a couple of drones going down as the queens do manage to grab this Liberator bottom right. 2 drones for the Liberator. Again, I mean, it's not great, but the Liberators are somewhat expendable from uThermal. I mean, he is causing chaos, he is distracting, he's setting himself up behind this. Can fat units fit through the squares? We've actually not really seen many units try and move through here, so I'm not sure. I imagine stuff... 4s definitely can't. I think siege tanks would maybe get stuck. Ultras will be able to slide through, though, because they're surprisingly small for their actual size. Hellions bottom right-hand side find themselves a group of drones unprotected here, as Stephano was setting up to the top side of the map. Again, he's playing Roaches and Bane. Well, he's actually playing Roaches and Hydras, okay. So he is playing differently, but Roach Hydra going to work out a lot better for him, I think. Obviously, it's not going to turn into the same sort of aggressive all-in. With the infestation pit down, he can set up into this hive already, and by going into the hive, he gets himself in a position where he can go into Vipers and eventually move in toward Broodlords as well, which are always very powerful against mech armies in general. So you're seeing those few roaches coming into the right-hand side, and we are going to be seeing the... Where was that? Ah, over here. I didn't know why I clicked all of a sudden, and I was like, wait, where's the barracks getting shot by a missile turret? Again, these missile turrets can be killed, and the siege tank will kill one of them here, so the barracks can just sit and watch these rocks. Hellions dive the bottom right side again, but this time Stephano prepared a little bit more quickly, and the links around will help the roaches to pick up on those Hellions before too much damage is done. As Infernal Pre-Igniter comes up, 2-2 upgrades coming in from uThermal's mech army. Stephano is fighting to stay alive in this series, remember. He's 0-2 down in a best of 5. One more point on the board for uThermal, and he'll have this victory confirmed. And he would move on free to play against True in the quarter-final matches. Roaches and Hydras pushing into the middle. On this barracks, we'll see a little bit of this army coming forwards. I mean, losing the barracks isn't a massive deal. uThermal will be pretty happy with the production he already has set up, so he won't be in an immediate rush to need that back up and running again. We will see the barracks is getting set up right now. Hellions pressing forwards and going to grab a couple of creep tumors here, so a couple of creep tumors coming down as Roaches and Hydras still pressing forwards right now. And those Hellions backing away to the left-hand side. Scan comes into position and a siege tank does get a shot off. Warns away some of those Roaches. Groove Spine's just over halfway done. And this Spire on the way up in the back of the Natural 2. Again, the idea of going in towards Broodlords is a very common one for Zergs in the later stages of the game against Mech. And this is the first time Stephano's really been in a position to set himself up for that. After game number 1, he was just under so much pressure that he never really got a chance to get there. Game number 2, he kind of all-ined and put himself behind. Game 3, he's finally going to make that move towards this direction at least. Doesn't mean he's going to get there. uThermal can still push and in the game before that point, but I mean, Stephano's set up the best he's been set up all series. He's got missile upgrades, he's got Roach Hydra, he's got Vipers on the map before the big push, and they're full of energy, so they're ready to be used. His Hellbat Smart Servos transform into these Roaches, and will then morph back into Hellions to finish the job. Shutting down this run by attempt of Stephano as uThermal starting to just take his entire side of the map. He's got 5 bases so far. The only base missing is this 6th base here. Meanwhile, Stephano misses the 6th base on the upper right-hand side. That gold base just now starting to be taken, but that gold base I still feel is very vulnerable because pushes through the center can just hold low ground and units will have to push down ramps into that army while uThermal pressures the gold. So I'm not too sure about if Stephano can hold on to that. I think it's going to be difficult for him to achieve. Liberator's sieging up already. Tanks will start to siege up as well. Not all of them siege just yet though. He's trying to spread them out so the blinding clouds aren't too insane. Liberator's actually getting pulled forward as the abducts working out there, but Stephano still loses a lot to the tank fire. uThermal's actually just starting to push in towards this central base of Stephano. Some Spore Crawlers are going to have to pull away just slightly. uThermal going into a very typical uThermal move, which is to go in towards the Cyclones later in the game here. With the rapid fire launchers, they're actually very good. They will absolutely shred Vipers once they lock onto them. Hellbat's not far enough forward to protect some of those abducted units, as you'll see them able to pick off this base though, and a couple of tanks moving in as well. Again, wants to try and keep these spread out so that a single blinding cloud will not take all of them down at once. One Viking working his way through this here as we do see the Spore Crawler taken down as well. uThermal's still pressing forward. Stephano's maxed out though. He still has an army that can fight against this. Hellbats morph back into Hellion mode. Reinforcing Cyclones coming across the map too. Continue to get set up into this at the moment. Couple of Vikings firing away. Oh, the Viper very nearly going down. Actually, the Viking shot's being tanked by an Overseer at the moment. uThermal's still set in the center. Guys, I know and I appreciate that this is not a great amount of FPS right now. Again, TvZ is not the best for FPS in general, and it's also the new maps a little bit funky. Here we go though, Vipers coming in, the Cyclones locked on. Blinding clouds all over these tanks though, which means Stephano will make a lot of progress here. The tanks will come online again now, but I mean, Stephano's already pushed very far forwards. uThermal though seems to be doing alright with tanks set up back at home, a Liberator setting up here. Vipers locked onto again, doesn't quite get the kill of those Cyclones. Maybe Stephano has a bit much momentum. uThermal has 82 SCVs, so he's able to rebuild, but mech armies rebuild slowly. And that's the issue. Stephano is not going to give him time. Well, here we go. I mean, locking onto a Viper again. Gets the kill this time around. A couple of Vikings trying to hunt also. I mean, those Vipers, some of them are so low. Lock on. And he does get another Viper kill. Tank on the high ground can siege up as this natural of uThermal in a lot of trouble right now. The Vikings wandering forward is going to commit through, and they are going to get 1 and 2 Vipers so far. And now these Hydras are surrounded. Hydras will start to fall here, but extra Hydras from the right-hand side. Reinforcements. And it looks as though Stephano will continue to clean this out. The Cyclones will now try and fight as well, but the Zerglings running forwards might just be able to do enough here. And it looks as though Stephano will maybe just about get a point on the board, I want to say. But you know what? These Cyclones are holding out. These Hydras are going down as well. And uThermal's going to hold on. Both these players are drained of money. How is uThermal staying alive? Well, you got to remember, while he lost 20 workers, he was up by 20 workers going into this. And as his reinforcements have come on through from multiple directions, because his production isn't just in the main, while Stephano's army, he kind of flanked Stephano's army. Stephano's army then flanked him, and then uThermal came in with more reinforcements to close this out. Guys, I can't even explain how chaotic and crazy that fight was. But somehow, some way, uThermal ends up ahead in supply. Wow. Crazy stuff as Stephano will push forwards here right away. Tanks will start a siege. The Vipers are all dead. 2 of them up, but they're nowhere to be seen. They're way back away. They don't have energy. 2 more being built, and that means uThermal will have more time to set up here and to keep on defending. Absolutely crazy. Absolutely crazy, guys. Can we just take a moment to appreciate that hold from uThermal? He looked like he was in so much trouble. But the patience, the pulling away, lifting the CC, just backing all the way to his main base reinforcements. At some point, maybe Stephano should have backed off and worked his way through this base instead, but that's difficult because it's a planetary fortress. That's absolutely ridiculous. I just cannot begin to explain how crazy that was. uThermal keeping himself alive in this third game. As we're going to be seeing a couple of these Liberators sieging up right now. And now we're going to see uThermal pushing into this very powerful position into the gold, which we've been talking about a couple times. Tanks get rid of a neutral missile turret here, so doesn't have to worry so much about his Vikings. Another Liberator getting ready to siege up towards the top, and well, Hydras want to push forwards, but the Hellions are going to be able to protect. The Hellions can just get forwards for a second. The splash damage onto those Hydras would be absolutely insane. Currently finding himself some drone kills already. Now Stephano's down 12 workers behind in economy again. Viper's full of energy though. That's a lot of tanks. They're going to have to blinding cloud. The Hellions will buy a lot of time as well as they back away. They dive back in. Hydras, I mean, by the time they finally make it onto this army, the tanks are not going to be blinding clouded any longer, and they are going to hold their position. Hellions actually win the fight on the top as well, which is just crazy. That's how good they are against Hydras alone. And Stephano is just not quite going to be able to hang in here. He overcommitted into the natural. We didn't think uThermal would survive that. Neither did Stephano, but he did. And because he did, it cost Stephano perhaps this game now. He loses the gold base. Tanks siege up on the south side as well. And this base will continue to fall. And it looks as though True will be playing uThermal in the quarterfinal matchup. That TvZ is our next matchup coming through here, as long as uThermal does close this out, which 50 supply ahead, it looks as though he will. Abduct on a siege tank here. Tank will fall. I'm just going to be seeing these army units moving around still. Another couple of abducts in. Tanks continue to get taken down here, as we're going to be seeing Roaches, Hydras, and Queens. Going to be backing off over to the right-hand side. Going to see a couple of Vipers consuming onto the extractor. And Hellbats and Cyclones continue to push on through, and we do see the Vipers jumping onto that hatchery once again. Just trying to consume, trying to get the energy to fight this, but the tanks are well spread already. The Cyclones lock on, they get a Viper kill already, and then they just back away waiting for their lock-ons to come off cooldown so they can repeat the process once more here in the next few moments. Hellbat Cyclones pushing forwards. A couple of Broodlords are coming online, but the Cyclones for the moment are locking on and doing the job they need to. One of the Broodlords dies, the other one falls. The Vipers now are going to be in some trouble as well, as this Viking or two chases them down. The Blinding Cloud comes on a few of the units, but there's so many more siege tanks still. The Cyclones kill the Broodlord to the right-hand side, and again, uThermal will just keep pressing forwards. Stephano, he doesn't look like he's going to pull off that miraculous hold, similar to how uThermal did just moments ago in his own natural expansion. GG. uThermal takes the 3-0, and while it was a 3-0, I really feel like we saw a fantastic series here.